call the IRS train wreck of the week. And the reason we call it that is people come in and they're typically their tax situation is just a train wreck. And typically, after they've come in and seen us and hired the firm and we've resolved the problem, they come out much better off. So in today's segment, we're going to talk about a client who actually, the strategy was we basically just ran out the clock. So in basketball, when I was a kid, this was I think it was before the NBA even had a shot clock. But one of the things they taught us as young kids is that since there was no shot clock in basketball, like if one of the strategies was if you could keep the ball on offense away from the other team, they couldn't outscore you.
Right.
Right? So you would just play what we called four corners. You basically just pass the ball around on your half of the court forever until they got the ball or you took a shot. And it was you're basically just running out the clock. And you would do that if you had a good lead and you just were trying to make the game be over. You see it in football quite a bit. You know, usually in the fourth quarter.
They're running down the clock.
They're running the ball to keep the clock running. Well, that's what we did in this particular case. As you recall, there's a statute of limitations for collections. And what that is there's a time clock. And the time clock is generally, there are exceptions, generally 10 years from the date the tax is assessed. So you can think of the tax being assessed on the date either that you filed a tax return with a balance due or the IRS did an audit and they added money to your account. So basically it's 10 years. Well, this particular woman came into the office and she's a great lady. Really like her a lot. And we were able to identify that, hey, you have a very short period of time on the statute of limitations. And she owed on the liens, she owed $89,712. Now, the liens don't actually have an accurate amount. That was the tax penalty and interest when the lien was filed. But this lien had been filed for many, many years. So it was probably 130 to 150.
So that's saying that number is much higher.
Yeah, the number was way, way higher than what was on the lien. And what we decided to do is we identified that, the best thing for her to do, this is rare, but the best thing for her to do was nothing. The IRS wasn't bugging her. She had moved down from up north to Florida, and that was the best thing to do, so was just do nothing. And we knew, because we'd done the power of attorney and we got the transcripts, I was able to ascertain exactly when the statute of limitations expired.
I'm listening to that Rascal Flatts song in my head, days go by.
Yeah, so every day that went by was just another day closer to ultimate freedom, right? So, long story short, we outlasted the statute of limitations, and then we very politely asked that the IRS to release the tax liens, both in this jurisdiction down here in Florida, as well as up in New Jersey, where she actually owned a second home. She owned a second home with equity in it in New Jersey. The IRS was not able to identify that in any meaningful way. And just talked to her yesterday, and she had actually, we got the lien released, and the balance was completely zeroed out. And she sold the home recently up in New Jersey and has a little bit of equity in her pocket. And so that's a situation where I didn't do anything illegal, unethical, or immoral. We just played the game. So
at what point, or did the IRS realize the clock actually ran out and they dropped the ball? I think the computer actually zeroes out the transcript, automatically. But typically those liens are not going to be released until somebody makes a demand, or actually we're going to call it a request. Until somebody requests that the liens be issued. Sorry. Time's up. Can you let it go? Let it go. You're even a redhead. So just having some fun today.
That's what happened is they issued releases to the tax liens, and she came out smelling like a rose.